Hello, fellow Bears fans. This is Coach Flo again, and we have an interesting game from the Falcons game. As usual, it was kind of tough to watch, and therefore we'll have a few plays here and there, see what's in there. There is a lot of Cover-3, and then there's one run play. So let's see where that brings us. This first play is a Cover-3, and now I told you already that it is a pass, but I think it's always a good idea to have a bit of a look at the O-line first steps so that we can improve our reading skills of O-line and of offense just in general. Quick look here, we have safety corner, as a safety in the middle, corner that is kind of deep, other corner that is kind of deep, that kind of looks already Cover-3-ish. So we have like 3 deep zones there for the name, and then we have flat over here, kind of from Brisker, flat over here, and then in between the 2 linebackers could like take the middle of the rest of the field. In this one play there is no blitz, I think, and then the second play then we will see that there is a blitz, and then this stuff moves around just a bit. So that was the play. So first things first, we said we wanted to look at the O-line. So again, let's have a look at that. Oh, so already we see he's standing and still, then he's up, kicking back, up. So this is what we call a pass setup. Okay, from everybody. Running back is also standing still here, so that is also not really expected to do anything besides pass blocking maybe. So what we see is that both of these guys start straight out in their routes, and what we saw is from Gordon that he tries to go out here. So let's see how that trend continues. Okay, we start to see that something is happening right over here, and we see that Gordon is already trying to split those 2 guys. That is kind of interesting, but a little bit later to that. We still have the deep cornerback here. That is a good thing because it's only 6 yards. That's not so much. And we still have the deep safety over here. Now what happens here is that he cuts into a slant, I would argue, and this guy maybe a little deeper, but tries to go in here. Let's call it drag or shallow or whatever you want to call that. So now we have the very interesting situation that, give us a second later, here, we have 2 guys, that was not good drawn, we have 2 guys that are outside of everybody else. If I can continue that here. So we have like 2 guys, and that's something that I showed you the last week. Also, that is, I don't know why that is done in the way it is done, but it will bring you a lot of incompletions over the middle. And as the ball is already in the air here, and nobody is somewhat close to that, it's like an easy completion in here. It's not as far open as we saw on a few other times, but it is still wide open. Now let's have a look why that is. I'm a big fan of Cover-3, so we mentioned already deep guy and then flat guy and guy helping out somewhere on all those other routes. Let's talk a bit about rules for this coverage. Okay, so this guy basically has a second man, whatever he does. So he stays with the first guy, except if he does anything weird. For example, say he runs a stop, then he takes the other guy, of course. So what we teach is normally your eyes are on the number 2 receiver. So we go from the outside, number 1 receiver, 2 receiver, and maybe somewhere in here, number 3. So your eyes are always on the number 2, because this guy, you will always see him. If he runs along, you will see that. But dangerous is that guy. As I draw it up, he makes something short, he goes over you. That would be really bad. So therefore you look at him and do something. We could maybe draw some other stuff up so that we get an idea. When that happens, you go with your number 1 receiver down here. And the same or different is for the flat defender. The flat defender takes the first guy that comes, that stops, goes in, goes out, whatever he does, you take the first man that does something down here. As long as they don't do that, you follow number 2. So if number 2 and he goes deep, then let me try a different color here. Then you follow here along this route, okay? And you look most of the time a bit at number 1, number 2 also, but number 1. That could be, for example, something like that. And that's very important to have a look at the number 1 receiver so that he doesn't get overlooked. The thing that's unclear here is why he tries so hard to get outside, to split those guys, to get outside of them, when this man, the number 1 receiver, is covered as long as he goes deep. And when he goes in, he's also not covered by Gordon because he's so far outside. So I have no idea what that thing should bring. This guy is very dangerous at the moment because he's kind of hot inside, because this throw is super easy. So what would I do? I would try to go with this guy as long as something happens to the number 1 receiver. If nothing happens with number 1, aka he goes deep, I stay in front or close to, I can play that kind of hard, with the number 2 receiver. And now it's all gone. This guy still goes deep, this guy breaks for his stop, and he is lost. Completely lost. Absolutely in the nowhere. And it gets even worse than that, because now he also breaks in for, what do we call it, like a deep slant or something. I mean, he's not open because there is the other linebacker, but still, that's super weird. His place would be somewhere around here. Then this thing would not be open, then he could not throw it, then he would need to look somewhere else, and all of that stuff down here is great covered. So maybe he would need to escape here, which would be also, I guess, somewhat okay. So again, the problem is the read. As long as number 1 goes deep, we go with and stay with number 2. That would be the solution to this problem. And now let's have a quick look at the backside. The backside is playing that way better. So we have the flat guy here, the corner here, and the helping linebacker inside. It's a bit tighter here, but that's okay. So when we see what Briscoe does here. He stays with number 2 as long as he doesn't do anything. See, he stays with him. He stays all the time. That's exactly what you want to do with the number 2 receiver when the number 1 receiver goes deep, because you don't care about the number 1 receiver when you're the flat defender when he goes deep, because he goes out of your zone. He plays it also nicely. This is super tight. I don't know why they receive around it that tight, because that makes it super easy to cover. So that's a great thing over here. The ball is already thrown, so that's the reason he's already focusing over there. This is nice. That is exactly what we want. That is super nice, sitting in his pocket. That is great all the night. Up to the next play. And here let's read from the O-line again what we get as a next play. So watching first steps, here we are already. So what do we see here? Big step in this direction, big zone step in this direction. After the snap, a little step, but that's hard for the center. We see those guys stepping over here. We see this guy stepping over here. Him stepping over here, and him having a bit of a wait. Either he's not so quick out of this stance or whatever. So what would we argue here. It's still the ball is in the air, so he has not moved. He has also not moved. But I would still argue that's something that flows over here. So now it's way clearer. Again, we have steps over here and steps over here. So all of those guys. We see also the right reaction of our guys over here. So that looks somewhat promising. Let's have a look at the play and then we'll discuss a bit. It was only like a 2-yard gain or something, but I mean, which is again generally a good play for the defense. That is clear. But I still want to point out a few things here and there about how you would play the outside run, which this kind of is here. So there, you have a few possibilities. We already established the last time. We want to have something like the force or the outside contain, and very often that is an end, especially if you're an outside backer or an end like in here. So would that mean that this guy here tries to come up here and build up like a wall or something here, so that the guy, in this time the running back, needs to go away from his path where he wants to go to the inside, and then for example here Briscoe could come in and tackle that for a very short gain. There are a few possibilities that you could change this up so that it's not always the same. You could crash hard inside here and don't protect the outside, and this guy here can come up and block the outside, or maybe I should put it a little bit more like this, but I don't like to put it like that because it's important to keep your hip square. Therefore I like to keep it like that way. You could also play this with the corner from the more outside, but that's kind of a hard thing, and then you would need to align it with the coverage. So what happens now is that we see that he steps in a little bit as he would try to do that, and he also attacks hard here, so that I have the feeling they wanted to call that, but for whatever reason he decides to stay somewhat outside and still lets the running back run outside of him. That is something you cannot combine. So here we saw already that he kind of tries to step inside here. That's kind of what you could do, and we see how hard he attacks down here, which is okay-ish. If they would have just played it, it would have been nice, because he would have pulled in the tackle. Maybe the tackle would have let him go through and then attack Briscoe. That would have been a perfect play from the tackle. Not sure if he would have done that, but it comes even better for the offense. See, he attacks it here, kind of, but it's too flat. He would need to take it a bit more deep, and he cannot let himself get reached. That is really unacceptable to get reached here. Let's have a look at that again. Just Briscoe this time. So he's here, has a perfect angle, everything is super. See, you cannot, man, he established himself again. That is a nice job. after this here. That's also very nice, kind of nice. And now that is very well played from both of the guys. They keep their hips square, see that? And then they make up for a kind of nice game. That's very good. That's really nice what you see here. I was wondering what was happening over here. See, he's so engaged. He's so engaged in this block that he has no idea. He lets him get his outside shoulder. Maybe the play was, as I said, that he should go inside and he has a force. Then Briscoe could have made a really nice -2 game here. See, he really takes on the contact here instead of just going one step through that. And maybe that's inexperience, because could he have taken the cutback lane? Maybe. But then you see it's nice played. Here is one guy, here's the other guy. Okay, he's falling down, that's unlucky. But all of those gaps should be closed. I mean, that is why you run for a zone like for your life. So good thing, 2 yards, other backer here, second backer also in the contact. So this is really like a nice play. Could have been a bit better, but still a very nice run play. Alright guys, we are back with a pass play in here, and we can see we have again this cover-3 style here. One safety deep, the other one, let's see what he does, and one cornerback also deep. We have 10 personnel here, so what that means is we have like 10 personnel, so that means we have a number 1 receiver here, number 2 receiver on that side. We also have a number 1 receiver here, and another 2 receiver inside. So we have 4 receivers, 1 running back. So what do we see so far? We have a deep route in. We have something like, I think it was a slant, I'm not mistaken. Then we have a post here, and we have an in underneath that route. So that is kind of very nice, nothing really special. We had a linebacker that was here, that was blitzing. So therefore we only have like 1 linebacker left, and that's this guy over here. We have the safety. As mentioned, the strong safety is somewhat flat because it's a cover-3. So a lot of drawing here. What do we have here? He's shouting in that he's coming in. I would argue he should go a bit closer to that here. We see here he's covering his receiver. So that is something that you would do normally exactly in this technique. You're running towards your own end zone because you want to be deeper at any place when that thing here goes deep, so that you're deeper than that. So the problem again start here. So let's go back to that, and then let's see what we can get out of this. So same rules apply as before. If I'm the flat defender in a cover-3, I want to look at a number 1 and see if he does anything. The first guy that breaks, that's my man. Otherwise, I stay with the number 2 receiver here. So I stay with number 2, we said, and I wait till until the first guy breaks. So question, did he break? No, he's covered by that guy. Why would you then let him go, especially when your linebacker that was standing here is blitzing? That's here, Jack Sanborn. Why would you leave him then alone and let him fly? This throw outside is super long. It takes forever. He's covered. You can go run in here. This guy is super open. So what do? We run away from him. So we actively go away from the guy that we just covered. Let him open for I don't know how many yards. See? So we have the usual thingy. Open, open, open. And that looks kind of okay. The ball is already in the air. And surprise, surprise. Super open. Easy catch. We slip also. Then we run. And the rest is like really ugly. Yeah, I think enough said. This was another poor performance. Every time you get like 30 points, that's way too much. I guess there's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff. Let's not overreact. Alright, that was it for today. I hope it was a bit shorter. I hope you liked it. Leave a comment. I would really like to know what else you would like to see and what else you want to break down. And yeah, leave a like. Hope to see you the next time. Glad you were here. Bear down.